Today's talk is going to be the third in a four-part series on the four thoughts that turn one's mind to the Dharma. And the first one was precious human birth. How fortunate we are to have been born in a human body, and not only a human body, but be born in a very good body and born in a country where we came in contact with the Dharma. So that is the first thought. The second thought is that we could die at any time, and all of our experience and our possessions are impermanent. And as a result of that, we need to kind of loosen our attachment to our body and so forth, and spend more time doing what's really meaningful in the long run. And so today the talk is about karma. And the idea of karma is that when we contemplate this and when we understand this, this encourages us to engage in activity that will benefit us and benefit others, and to stop engaging in activity that will cause harm to us and harm to other people. That in a way, we are the architects of our life and our future lives, and it's created by the actions that we engage in. And so if we would like to have more happiness in the future, and especially if we would like to liberate ourselves completely from samsara, then we need to pay attention to karma and our actions in the present time. Freedom exists only in the present. It does not exist in the past. The past is past. It is said that the past is like a rotten seed, nothing can grow from it. And the future is like the child of a barren woman. And a barren woman cannot have children. So it is in the present where we have the ability to become the person we would like to be in the future. And again, the ultimate purpose of life in terms of a Buddhist context is to get out of samsara, to escape, rather than keep being reborn lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and experiencing birth, old age, sickness, and death over and over again. So I'm going to start out here with a quote from Karmapa. As we are all interdependent, everything I do not only affects myself, my family, or people close to me, but it has an effect on the whole world. It is very important, therefore, that we all take responsibility for our actions. So it is karma that causes us what we experience in our present life and connects us with our past ones. Now, we cannot see past lives, and we can't see future lives, but enlightened beings can. On the other hand, if you think that we won't have a future life because there's just no evidence for that, well, think about it this way. Do you think there's going to be a tomorrow morning? Do you think if you're not retired yet, you will retire? Do you expect the lights to go on when you turn on the switch on the wall? It's amazing how much faith and confidence we have in mundane things. And it's not much of a stretch to realize that our minds will continue after our body dies, that our mind is not just a matter of chemical, electrical, hormonal impulses that come from our brain, that there is something much more than that underlying our mind, our awareness, and so forth. And what mind is basically, it is awareness, being aware. A computer is not aware. A computer does not care if it crashes, if it loses a file, doesn't even care if it gets a virus. It's the computer operator that has awareness. And as a result of that awareness, the computer operator reacts to a computer virus, or if the computer loses a file, or if it crashes, and so on and so forth. So to get back to karma, this is what we carry with us. This is what our mind carries with us from one life to the next. And karma is like a seed, that every action that we have of body, speech, and mind, it plants seeds. And the Tibetans say, if you sow barley, you will harvest barley. If you plant poisonous seeds, you will harvest poisonous fruit. Our habitual patterns and our mental conditioning is a result of karma. Our self-clinging and our kleshas, all of this is a result of karma, and there's really no freedom here. We're trapped in our habitual patterns, our mental conditioning. We really don't see a whole lot of possibilities when we are trapped by our karma. So the traditional way to go over karma is talking about the 10 non-virtuous actions and the 10 virtuous actions. And these 10 non-virtuous actions will create karma, and then the karma will ripen and we will experience unpleasant circumstances and unhappiness. So I will go through the 10 non-virtuous ones first. The first is taking life, especially a human life. And human lives are considered more important than animal lives, because it is in the human realm that you actually have a chance to come in contact with the Dharma and attain liberation. But taking any life is considered non-virtuous. And the Karmapa and other great Kagyu teachers have said the reason why we have this COVID-19 epidemic is because of the wet markets in Asia, of killing animals, wild animals, and then eating them. The second non-virtuous action, and the first three are non-virtuous actions of our body, and it is The second one is to take that which has not been freely given, taking it by force, by deception, stealing when the owner is not around, and so forth. It's actually pretty obvious. There's not a lot of wiggle room here. The third is sexual misconduct. And this has different aspects. One is to have sex with a person that is considered underage by the culture that you are in. Having sex when that would harm the other person physically or psychologically. Having sex with a person that is in a committed relationship with somebody else. And having sex with somebody where it would violate your vows or their vows. So there are 4 actions of speech that are considered non-virtuous. The first is lying, and especially telling a spiritual lie. Telling other people about how fantastic your meditation is, or fantastic experiences that you have had that you feel are a sign that you have realization or are special or whatever. But any kind of lying is considered non-virtuous. And there's a difference between lying and not telling the whole truth. A bodhisattva knows a lot about his or her students as well as other people, and bodhisattvas don't tell everything that they know. So there's a difference between telling everything exactly as you see it and lying. Then the next non-virtuous activity of speech is speech that promotes discord and disharmony. Again, especially within the Sangha. And this is very common. It's common at work. It can be common at home. It can be common in the Sangha. I know I have heard people say that the Lama at a particular center, and not to me, but to other members of the center, is not a good Lama, and that there are other Lamas out there that are much better, perhaps even in a different lineage. So this is a huge problem. It can be a huge problem. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, whenever he would visit the Hay River Center, he would talk about my qualities. Now, there were much better Lamas out there than me that he knows, but he wouldn't talk about these other Lamas because the people at the Hay River Center needed to respect me. And when he went to other centers, I know he would do the same thing. He would talk about the qualities of the Lama at that center. This is actually a problem in Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, and so forth, and that is disharmony within the spiritual community. And it serves no purpose and causes huge problems among the members. So be careful of that, because you're creating a huge amount of negative karma. The third one of speech is harsh speech. And that is saying things that hurt. In a way, words are the blade of the mind, that they can really harm other people. And of course, in harming other people, you are creating a huge amount of negative karma. It is said that if you bring things to a painful point, you are wrong even if you are right. And the fourth one of speech is gossip, or just useless, meaningless speech. That you're wasting your own time and you're wasting other people's time. And gossip also, for some reason or another, it's always negative about somebody who isn't present. If you're praising somebody else and they're not present, this isn't gossip, and you're not wasting people's time. But so much gossip, it's talking negatively about the faults of other people. And it's not particularly spiritual to see the faults of other people. If finding the faults of other people and pointing them out was spiritual, this country would be incredibly spiritual. What is spiritual and beneficial is to see your own faults and then work on them. The next three, and this will bring it to a total of 10, are the non-virtuous actions of mind. So the first one is covetousness, wanting things that other people have. And so this can be a huge problem. It's very competitive. And of course, you're thinking of yourself. You're not thinking of the other people. The ninth one, or the second one in terms of the non-virtuous actions of mind, is ill will. And that is wanting harm to come to another person. And the fourth one, it's the fourth one. The third one in this category is wrong view. And this is different from doubting and questioning. Doubting and questioning are actually good to investigate what it is that you doubt rather than just try to pretend that you don't have doubt. This is denying. It's denying that we will face, you might say, the consequences of our negative actions or our positive actions. In other words, denying that there is such a thing as karma. It would be thinking good is bad and bad is good. And another example in this category would be thinking that your own experience is solid and real and not illusory. So there are, these actions lead to a life in the lower realms or increased suffering in the human realm. You want to avoid these actions. You want to dissuade others from engaging in them. And of course, you want to regret what you have done that falls into one of these 10 categories. And it's important to realize the difference between guilt and regret. Regret is seeing what you have done, regretting having done it, and then wanting to avoid doing it in the future. You could say learning from your mistakes. It also would be good to investigate confession and purification. in terms of regret, rather than just, oh, I regret that I did that. It's let's do something about what I have done so that I don't have to face the consequences. Now, guilt is different. Guilt is that you have regret for what you have done, and then you have a long list of other things that you have done that fall into one of these 10 categories. And you just start thinking that you're a bad person, you're a hopeless person, there's nothing that can be done about it, I'm always screwing up, and so on and so forth. This is what guilt is, and it leaves you powerless. It leaves you feeling helpless and hopeless, and that there's nothing that can be done about it. So the bottom line is that regret has this idea of motivating you to do something about what you have done, to engage in better behavior in the future and purify the karma from your bad behavior. And guilt is just more of the same old, and there's really nothing that you can do about it because you're fundamentally a bad person and you can't turn a lump of coal white, so why try? So there are 10 virtuous actions, which are basically the opposite. And these are actions that we want to engage in to save the lives of animals and people, if it's possible. But even saving insects is beneficial. And then when you do that, dedicate the merit to all beings, that they may achieve temporal happiness temporarily, happiness in the whatever realm of samsara they are in, and that ultimately they are liberated totally from samsara. And it's common to have animal releases. It's not done so much in this country because there are various, you might say, DNR rules about letting wild animals loose in the wild. We used to hear, for instance, buy worms from a bait shop, but it turns out that the worms at the bait shop would be an invasive species and harmful on the environment. And so we don't do that much anymore. In fact, we haven't done it for quite a few years. But you can even, there are organizations that will release animals over in Asia, and you can pay them to do that for you. But even letting an insect that's inside the house outside so it can live a little bit longer is beneficial, and dedicate the merit from that. So the second one is to be generous with your money and your food. It's considered very virtuous to feed animals, wild or domestic. And number 3 is have moral sexual conduct. There are lay vows, and one of the lay vows is to abstain from sex from anyone but your partner. So any kind of moral sexual conduct produces good karma. The 4th is, instead of lying, speak truthfully. And in fact, if you speak truthfully, people will believe you and will have respect for what you say. The next one is to patch up quarrels that are caused by slander, disharmony. And then instead of speaking harshly, speak gently. Khenpo Karta Rinpoche is an excellent example of that type of speech. And instead of gossiping, discuss worthwhile topics. And there are plenty of worthwhile topics out there that can be discussed. The opposite of having covetousness is rejoice in the good fortune of others. Instead of feeling covetous and jealous about what they have, is rejoice in their good fortune. May they actually have tremendous amount of happiness from whatever it is that you might have felt covetousness about. And instead of ill will, think only of benefiting other beings. And finally, about wrong view, learn correct view, study the Dharma, and definitely don't denounce the views of other religions just to maintain your faith. So engage in these, encourage others to do the same, and then rejoice in whatever has been done that falls into these 10 categories. So if we are going to be liberated, we have to work at the causal level, not at the result level. And it is at the result level that most people in samsara are working with. You're having a bad time in this life or a bad situation this year or this week, and you attack it at that level. And it frequently doesn't work. That what we need to do is purify the negative karma that's causing us to have these problems. And our intention or our motivation is considered extremely important. It's more important than whether we're chasing after happiness or suffering. And this reminds me of a joke that I heard. It's about the man that came to the Lama and said, I want happiness. And so the Lama said, well, first we're going to have to eliminate the I. And then you'll have to eliminate the want, and you'll be left with happiness. So we can't blame others or give credit to others when our karma ripens. That we may not remember planting these seeds that are now ripening, but we are the ones that are responsible for whatever good or negative karma is ripening in our lives. So, since motivation is so important, the intent to benefit others creates positive karma, and that leads to happiness. If we're motivated by the kleshas, by our afflictive states of mind, that leads to non-virtue, that leads to negative karma or bad karma, and that leads to suffering. Karma is cause and effect, and so this is how the causal chain works. And that brings into play here the idea of merit and what to do with positive karma. Anytime you have created positive karma by our actions of body, speech, and mind, it's excellent to dedicate the merit. If we don't dedicate the merit, then it becomes exhaustible. And so if we dedicate the merit then to go to perhaps specific beings that we feel need help, need merit, good karma, and dedicate to them, and dedicate it to them so they may have temporary happiness and ultimately be liberated from samsara. And then after that, dedicated so to all sentient beings that they may be liberated to samsara. When we dedicate it like that, it becomes inexhaustible merit. And merit is a type, I like to call it good karma. So we must come to a point of certainty about the infallibility of karma, that there's no higher being that's keeping track. There's no reward or punishment from a higher being. That it is just the way things work in the world, that the Buddha discovered karma. You might say, at least karma, the way he described it working. It was different in Hinduism than the way the Buddha described karma as working. So this is an interesting way to look at karma, to see a little more refined way of looking at it. And it has to do with our intention and then our action. And so you can have a white intention and then a black action. And this creates negative karma. The white intention would be to make an offering to the 3 jewels, but the offering would be involved with killing an animal. I was once present when a man asked a Rinpoche this question. Well, we're going to eat these animals anyway, speaking of, beef and pork and so forth. Why not offer them to the 3 jewels before they're killed? And that is considered not a good offering. After that at this time, the Kagyus were not vegetarian. But definitely now that we are vegetarian, this would not even come up. Now, people that are lay people can eat meat. And of course, we would offer the plate of food to the 3 jewels, and that's not considered negative. That would be white intention with white action. Beating or insulting somebody for their own good, again, would be white intention and black action. So then there's black intention and resulting in a white action. And so that would be building a temple for fame, donating a lot of money, and then making a big deal out of it. This would be, you would have a black intention, which is fame, very egotistical, ego clinging and so forth. But it would result in benefiting the Dharma. Another one would be getting an education so that you can compete. And you might say, progress up the ladder of success. So we need to avoid negative actions, that even little actions add up, because we are continually accumulating karma in our daily lives. That rejoicing in an action after it's been completed, your own action or the action of other people, makes the karma stronger. This is why in a lot of prayers, we will include, I rejoice in the merit of others. It's a remedy for jealousy and covetousness, but it also increases our merit by rejoicing in the merit of others. And of course, it's very negative to rejoice in your own or others' negative actions. Now, the actions that are done in a group multiply karma. So when we practice together, if there are 10 people practicing, you accumulate the merit of you practicing, but also 9 other people. So that makes the karma 10 times more than it would be if you were practicing alone. And the same thing goes for when you are doing negative actions in a group, that it is multiplied by the number of people in the group. Now, the point is that temporal happiness is usually the result of actions that create negative karma. So if you are tired of the same old, point your mind to the ultimate goal. If you are tired of samsara, then point your mind towards the ultimate goal and what needs to be done to accomplish it. It means relaxing your grip on worldly, mundane activities and increasing your ethical conduct, increasing your dedication of merit whenever you do anything that is beneficial for yourself or other people. Keep thinking of other people, and this will keep you on the right path of liberation from samsara. So the practice of Dharma should be transformative. And so it's good to look at yourself, have I changed since I have been practicing the Dharma? Have I seen things that I didn't see before about myself? It's easy to get involved in the Dharma and then kind of plateau. And this is a sign that you're stuck. And so it goes back to how we practice the Dharma when we're in our own shrine room or space in the house that we practice in, and what you are doing when you are not in the shrine room, when you're in post-meditation. Are you carrying the Dharma into your practice? Are you dedicating the merit? And so forth. So in post-meditation, keep working on increasing your awareness to keep coming back to the present. Study and contemplate more, practice more. Look into purification and confession. I gave a talk about this maybe a month or 2 ago. This is very important. We will be doing Chenrezig Amitabha tomorrow. Do these prayers either online with us or in your home by yourself. Talk to your Lama for direction if you feel you're stagnating. Work on being more compassionate, developing more loving kindness, more selfless. And again, when practicing and in post-meditation, dedicate all merit to all sentient beings so that they have temporary happiness and especially that they attain liberation. So if you're doing practice and you're motivated to do the practice for sentient beings, it makes the practice more powerful than if you're just doing it for selfish reasons. So it's very important to bring this idea of wanting to benefit all sentient beings, both temporarily and ultimately. If you are just wanting to benefit beings in this lifetime of theirs, and you're not too concerned about what happens to them after they die, then it's not so powerful. Your practice isn't so powerful. So you want to make sure that when you're dedicating merit, that you're dedicating it to beings that they may be temporarily freed from suffering and ultimately attain enlightenment and liberation from samsara and the suffering of samsara. And in order to do this, we need a firm foundation of love, loving kindness, and compassion. If we don't have that, we can just mouth the words, or the other thing that can happen is it becomes a heavy burden that we cannot carry. It becomes too difficult for us. So we really have to explore what loving kindness and compassion are and how to deepen them in our hearts. So finally, use this teaching and the other two that I have already given to reduce your craving for happiness now